Welcome to the CS Week Marketplace webinar series. CS Week Marketplace offers fresh perspectives and strategies presented monthly by knowledge specialists from the Conference 39 Platinum and Gold sponsors. I'm Lisa Collins with CS Week, and I will be your moderator today, along with Vicki Doris from IBM, who will facilitate your question and answer session later. Please mark your calendars for CS Week and Conference 40, which will be held April 25th to 29th, 2016, at the Phoenix Convention Center in Phoenix, Arizona. Watch your email and our social media channels for registration information. This program will be recorded and available for playback along with our other archived presentations. You will find it under the Educational Venues tab, third Tuesday and Thursday, webinars link from our website later this afternoon. Attendees are encouraged to upload questions to the Q&A panel as they arise. However, all questions will be held until after the presentation for the Q&A segment. Please ensure that you address your questions to all panelists so that we may see them. And at this time, I welcome Vicki Doris.
Thank you, Lisa, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Vicki Doris, and I'm the Global Solution Leader for Customer Operations at IBM. Today, you're going to learn about how Southern California Edison have put customers at the core of their business by engaging them when and how they want through physical, digital, and mobile means. Specifically, our objectives for today are to understand how SCE's customer strategy has helped them to meet customer needs while facing rapid changes in technology, increase efficiency and customer satisfaction, by allowing customers to complete transactions on any channel with multiple devices. Our webinar today will be led by Grant Littman with Southern California Edison. As a Senior Product Manager of Digital Customer Experience for Southern California Edison, Grant leads a team of digital product managers responsible for the design of simple, easy-to-use digital products that focus on high-value customer and company goals and are delivering through SCE's digital communications, acquisition, and conversion programs. Previously, Grant was responsible for the strategic planning, governance, and day-to-day operations of Edison's corporate web team. And before joining SCE in 2007, Grant worked for Edison, leading its North American direct-to-consumer e-commerce and e-marketing department. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to Grant.
Thanks, Vicki. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Grant Littman, and as Vicki said, I am the Senior Manager of Digital Products here at Southern California Edison. For those of you who aren't familiar with SCE, we're one of the largest investor-owned utilities here in California. We serve about 14 million consumers across a 50,000 square mile service territory. So we're a fairly large utility here in California, and we have a very diverse customer base that we're serving through really all of our channels. But in particular, what I'm going to talk to you today about is how we are serving those customers increasingly through our digital channel. So with that, I will move ahead to the next slide. Just a sort of an overview of what I'm going to take you through, which is really kind of a journey along our digital evolution, how that strategy has been evolving over time, and using the backdrop of a particular case study that we had started on a few years ago and then released to market in 2014. But beyond that, share a little bit more about how that applies to all of our customer experience strategy going forward for digital. So at the highest level, what we're doing with our customer experience and really our overarching customer service strategy is that we envision that to meet our customers' basic expectations of being a utility customer, we need to make it a very simple and low effort customer experience, that we do everything we can within SCE to make sure that what customers experience, whether they interact with us in a digital channel or in a live agent call, that be as low effort as possible, and that we do so in a way that prioritizes taking those transactions and doing them in the most cost-efficient way. That historically may not always have been a utility emphasis, this cost efficiency element of it, but as there's increasing costs of energy and pressure on our customers to be able to manage their energy costs, we feel like it's really our responsibility to find a way to serve customers both where they increasingly want to be served, which is in our digital channels, but also to do so from an operational excellence perspective to move to our lowest possible cost channels in a way that helps us manage the ultimate cost to the consumer. And that, obviously puts a great deal of emphasis on how we execute in our digital channel. So I'm going to start the evolution of digital here at SE. Actually, a few years into my time at SE, I've been here since 2007, but where we really began in earnest to pursue our current digital strategy was back in the 2010-2011 timeframe. And just to set the stage there, what our site looked like prior to really getting on with the redesign work was a very sort of mid-2000s, early 2000s type of user experience where the site was largely optimized for smallish desktop-only type of user experiences, not particularly transactionally focused, more of a content site with a little bit of self-service thrown in. And our goal was really to move beyond that to meet customer needs in a much more engaging way and with a heavier bent towards customer self-service. That said, at the time, mobile was really sort of a different approach for, I think, us as well as a lot of companies where we were focused more on an app-centric strategy for serving the mobile user. At the time, mobile as a percent of overall transactional mix for us was not super significant. It was growing, so we felt like many companies that we needed to move in that space, and we did so with kind of an app-centric approach. But we started to realize that, even as we were moving forward with our redesign of our site and starting to build out kind of a more engaging desktop user experience, that users, as time was going by, were starting to expect that our site would be accessible, our full site, that is, accessible on all devices, not just laptops and a mobile app for mobile devices, but really that to meet customer needs, we had to start to look at a convergence of digital. And I think like many companies, for us, that led us to a strategy of responsive web design. At the same time, though, continuing to bring to market a good usable experience on apps. So, as you kind of see, we're moving forward in time and eventually kind of coming to present day where we're at now is largely on a path for responsive. But, I want to kind of take a moment to at least say that there is definitely a debate within, I think, most companies within the industry about apps versus responsive and pros and cons of both. And we've certainly got both experiences in play at Edison at the moment. I am going to mostly talk about responsive design and how that played out for us in our Move Center experience in a second. But I want to say that the considerations that we face are really, I think, the same as most companies where, apps are great. They allow for a company to really tailor the experience to something that works as best as possible with the features of your Apple phone or your Android phone or, whatever platform of choice you may have. But the challenge with that, and at least for us, was that it really required us to spin off resources that had a dedicated focus on apps, whereas one of the clear benefits of responsive is a sort of simplified and unified way to handle development and design and delivery, which aligns nicely with our cost efficiency goals, as well as meeting customer expectations that regardless of the device they're on, they're getting a consistent experience, and that it's, if it's simple and easy to do on their phone, it will likewise be simple and easy to do on their desktop. So for us, while we still have not fully, set our strategy around apps, we definitely are moving forward in the direction of responsive. So I'll move now to the specific example of how we were starting that journey with what we refer to as our Move Center. So the Move Center is basically the portion of SE.com where customers can go and turn service on and turn service off in order to, self-serve for their electric service versus calling our call center, which had been our historical way of handling customer requests for moves. And when we started this project and looked at the experience that our customers were having with service enablement, it was really a place of kind of a not so great experience, one that was very low in terms of customer satisfaction, very low in terms of service transactional completion via the web. So it was really an area that was ripe for a turnaround, and we chose to kind of execute our strategy for digital in this place first to see how we could make a turnaround. And I'm happy to report that more than a year later, since we went live in about mid-2014, we've really seen the fruits of that labor come to bear. We've seen a significant turnaround in the conversion rates for this transaction. I mean, just to put it into perspective, we had about a 70% abandon rate for the transaction pre-go live, and post-go live we've seen basically an inversion of that, where we're seeing upwards of 75 to 80% conversion rate, and the abandons where they're still happening are down below 20% at times. And largely the abandons that we're seeing are fundamentally due to customers having issues with their particular service address, less so than with the website itself not being easy to use or reliable, which was really at the heart of the problem before. It shouldn't be a surprise that with conversion rates at that level, that customer satisfaction with the process is equally been turned around. Before we were seeing our satisfaction with the site experience as measured by 4C, which is our vendor for measuring WebSat, quite low. And on their 100-point scale, we're generally speaking in the 80-plus range, which is a very significant turnaround in terms of satisfaction with the process as well. But specifically, to contrast pre and post, what was going on before is we had a very desktop-centric experience that didn't work well at all on mobile devices. That was facilitated by a third party versus direct by SCE. So there was also a sort of a disjointedness in terms of when the request was made online versus what would happen if you contacted SCE. There was a lag factor between the online requests. With the site, as we relaunched it, that was a direct connection into our back office, where sort of the round-trip customer experience was entirely facilitated by SCE, with a much higher sort of service level involved. Our call center has complete visibility into the transaction. So again, if you have any need to contact SCE for status on your order, our agents are able to assist you just as easily as if you had initiated that service request in the live call environment. So it's a really great result for us, and something that we are very proud of, and also been able to, since that implementation, carry forward across really all of our digital experiences. And I'll share with you some of, I think, the critical parts to how we made this transition really stick, because while the build out of the channel is definitely something from a technology standpoint that we embraced responsive design, really rethought how we create these customer experiences from a technology perspective. To see the growth that we're seeing in this transaction, we really had to look at all aspects of how we deploy new products and services. For example, from a display advertising perspective, we launched a series of display ads, banner campaign, if you will, targeting customers based on their likelihood of being a mover. So historically, when customers in the service territory think about moving, they're not necessarily focused on how do you contact a utility company. That's sort of incidental to the move. So we worked with our media buying agency to come up with a plan on how we would be able to identify those customers who are likely to move and then serve them relevant advertising in sort of a very clear and concise message about when it's time, when you're thinking about and getting ready to move, you should consider moving, submitting your move request online at our website, and doing that not only on full desktop sites, but also with mobile optimized advertising as well, since our site is actually fully usable on mobile devices. So getting that marketing mix properly dialed in was critically important to seeing the transition away from the call environment and bringing more of these move customers to SE.com with the focus on completing their transaction online in a self-service way. Another aspect of the success we had that is underpinning our approach going forward for all of our products and services is how we integrate customers and their input into our design process and into our optimization process. I would say over the time that I've been at SCE, this has been a huge area of improvement for us in terms of how engaged we have customers all throughout our design and development process, where from the get-go, from the very first concept that we develop, we employ a number of different feedback channels with our customers, whether it be focus groups or in-depth interviews with some of the customers in our target audience. We also engage our employees who are frontline employees that hear day-to-day what the sentiment is from customers or the pain points. We talk to our employees as customers themselves and use all of that rich feedback that we're getting to inform the direction we're going with our product concept. Before any business requirements are defined, before any code certainly is written, there's a wealth of feedback from customers or employees to help ensure that we're on the right track. We also go through a few different rounds of refining that once we have requirements, once we have developed our initial design, built out prototypes of the product experience, we test it again. We show it really continuously throughout the process to our target audience to make sure that we're iterating and improving all the way up to our launch process. And then as we go through kind of a post-launch measurement process to make sure that we're seeing the results that we anticipated from the very beginning, and making sure that we learn from the real live site as much as we learned all the way through the testing process before go live. And that has, again, we sort of took this full life cycle approach for the Move Center experience, and it really paid out significantly in terms of the results we're seeing. Where we're taking that work further is around our content strategy for the site. We started this again with the Move Center, but with our industry in particular, although I think many industries suffer from this syndrome of, since we're very familiar with the names of our programs or the industry speak that we use in terms of how we do business, we often use those same words in the labels of navigation on our site. The content of our site often is written in ways that make sense to us but is not so clear to our customers. So on this slide, we have sort of the SCE speak of Safe Power Day, Summer Discount Plan, Time of Use, Rate, Ways to Pay. Those are words that internally we're very comfortable with and have used historically on our website, but as far as what customers understand about what those words mean, a lot of times there's a significant disconnect. And so we're, again, starting with sort of the work we did with the Move Center, we're beginning to transition away from the SCE-centric communication style to a customer-centric way of talking to our customers, and using this sort of test and measure approach to inform the direction we're going with that. A small example of how we carried that forward is with our relaunch of the homepage, again, drafting off of the work we did with Move Center. Earlier this year, we transitioned the homepage of our site to responsive design as well. And along the way, we took much of that same measurement approach, kind of looking from concept to successive ways of testing. And what was interesting is that we brought forward in that design a very transactional focus that had been sort of downplayed in the homepage design we launched in 2013. We heard feedback from customers that they wanted it to be much clearer and easier on how do I log in. As soon as I get to the homepage, that should be jumping out at me. How do I view my bill? How do I make a payment on my account? Those things were there in the old design, but the feedback was pretty consistent that it wasn't obvious and it wasn't easy. So that was really a key objective of our redesign of the homepage. And right up until we were getting ready to go live, we were still measuring and testing this with customers and employees. And what we found is that just a few weeks prior to go live, we were still getting maybe not exactly the results we were hoping for in terms of a clear, yes, I feel that this page is easy and helps me accomplish my goals. And so with just a little bit of testing in our pre-production environment, we were able to make just some very easy small changes in our content management system to add in additional navigation links on the homepage that drew out the key tasks that customers were telling us they still felt were too hard for them to accomplish. And just by adding, 2 additional links and making a slight tweak on the way that the links in the task-based navigation were labeled, we saw satisfaction with the homepage design increase by 10 points. And that was a very late cycle optimization we did, but it goes to show that, the approach of really listening to what your customers are saying and never calling it quits on your ability to implement improvements can have a significant impact on how satisfied the customers are with the experience. And we did go live with the homepage shortly thereafter, and consistently the homepage is scoring very well in terms of satisfaction, ease of navigation and use. And subsequent to the homepage launch, I don't have the stats in this slide deck, but we actually rolled forward with rolling out responsive content templates across the vast majority of the site in late June. Very similar and consistent results with that launch as well. So we're kind of over the tipping point now with SC.com in terms of the transition to responsive, and we're really seeing the investment we've made in our measurement framework, our sort of customer-centric design, mobile-first design paying off significantly in terms of customer satisfaction. The next frontier for us really is to kind of make sure that we can sustain our growth in this space. This is an approach that strategically works well for us. It helps us meet our company objectives and our customer expectations. What we're finding, though, is that certain releases sort of speak for applying the methodology in different ways. Not every project is as well funded as some of these sort of big ticket projects that we've done. So we're trying to balance the resource mix that we have internally and to see if we can continue to get the same kind of results, but also drive down the cost of executing our development in each subsequent release. You know, the demand across the company for digital is very, very high, and our team, while it's grown significantly over the last few years, has, you know, really not the capacity to serve every project that comes down the pike. So we're working to clarify our focus for the digital strategy and set a clear set of prioritization requirements for projects that we're going to apply our full set of resources against, make sure that the things that are the high value customer projects get prioritized and funded first, and those with sort of a less clear business case, you know, they may have a shot at you know, going forward in the digital space, but we're trying to, again, make sure that we're serving the most important needs of our customers first here at SCE, and dedicating our resources accordingly. I will say that, you know, again, we do have an app in market as well that also tests well with our customers. They're very satisfied with the feature set of that app. It allows them to, you know, view power outage information, submit outage reports, manage their basic account features, such as viewing their bill, making payments, looking at their usage. We're thinking about now how that converges with the transition of our site to responsive. Obviously, we have a very robust account management feature on SCE.com that we call My Account. It's been really the linchpin for customer transactions on the site historically. It's the next in queue for us to transition to responsive web design, looking at the 2016 timeframe to do that. Again, following the same path that we've taken for the Move Center with the homepage, with the content pages, applying the same amount of rigor, the same thoughtful process to making sure we get the customer needs met. But we do have to consider, you know, what are the implications for an app product like we have with our legacy app. The jury's still out. We're still having, looking at the business case for that, looking at how we balance resources against app versus the responsive site. I will say that I think personally there's room for both in terms of meeting customer needs. Customers certainly like the app. As a digital user myself, we all have a lot of apps on our phone. The question comes down to, is an app critical to ensure a good customer experience for a utility customer, or can we also meet their needs through a great responsive site? And I think we're gonna make a decision pretty soon and move forward on that. That's really the total of my materials, and happy to transition over to Q&A now. So just open it up to that.
Great. Thanks, Grant. I guess while we're waiting for any folks who are participating in the webinar to post their questions into the Q&A panel, I'll go ahead and maybe ask you one or two that I had kind of top of mind. You talked a lot about prioritizing things around responsive design, and not only making it a good customer experience, but also looking at it from the standpoint of SCE needing to obviously become more efficient and drive out cost, right? Have you seen through your improvements that you've made with SCE.com that your cost to serve, you feel like it's been reduced?
Yes, absolutely. We've been able to significantly transition call volume out of the call center related to the Move Center requests in particular. We've seen nearly a doubling in the channel mix of what we'll be doing with Move Center transactions into SCE.com and away from the call center. So that, in and of itself, is a clear indicator that when done well, and when we create a very robust transactional experience, that we can actually remove call volume from our call centers, which is obviously our highest cost to serve channel. Similarly, our growth in paperless billing is a major cost-saving approach for SE, where we use digital to drive that volume. And I think we have some very aggressive targets for paperless billing, even compared to maybe the rest of the industry. But there's obviously a very significant sort of savings that available to us the more we go with our customers go paperless. So we're looking to leverage key transactions like the Move Center to drive that paperless billing growth. In fact, I didn't mention this, but one of the enhancements we made during the 2015 timeframe to the Move Center is that we added into the service turn-on experience and service transfer experience basically an upsell offer, a very simple process by which when the customer is turning service on for the first time or moving it to another location, that we ask them whether they'd like to go paperless. And while that seems like such an obvious thing to do, it was actually a little bit more complicated from a process perspective than you might expect. And it also was something that just historically the company had a business process of sending the opening statement as a paper statement versus going electronic right from day one. And it has been very successful. So we sort of seamlessly integrated that with the turn on and transfer requests on the Move Center, and we are getting significant lift on the customers who take us up on that offer, and that is contributing to lower cost to serve as well. So we're looking at every opportunity to kind of leverage our high volume transactions into other digital transactions that have cost savings associated with them.
Okay, great. We do have quite a few questions that are coming in, so I'll just kind of start at the top and we'll sort of go through them if that's okay. The first question comes from Raj, and they're asking about the platform that you're using to execute your digital strategy.
Sure. So the technical platform is largely based on IBM WebSphere technology, specifically IBM WebSphere Portal, and we also have a integration with IBM WebSphere Commerce. There is a great deal of sort of e-commerce rationale and strategy underpinning our focus on how we believe customer transactions should be executed for a utility company. And rather than create those core capabilities of how we sort of acquire customers into digital and then move them through a browse-to-buy process, rather than try and custom build that, we wanted to use off-the-shelf technology as much as possible. So we found that the products that IBM was offering were a good technology match for what we envisioned from a business perspective. So we're definitely well invested in that now, and I think it's maturing nicely for our business.
Thank you. And then we have from David. He asked, how do you deal with the legacy content and applications on the website that perhaps don't lend themselves to a responsive design?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I wish there was a simple way for me to answer that, other than to say we approach them very carefully, and where we don't have a good way of dealing with sort of that transition to responsive, we have kind of treated those as microsites for now. So the Outage Center in particular is still a holdover to our non-responsive, as it were, our desktop-only experience, because we felt that while we could have transitioned the content of the Outage Center along with all the other content pages on the site a few months ago, we felt that it didn't make sense from a user experience perspective to just have all of the information about power outages and what to do during an outage to be responsive, and then have the core transactional experience looking at outage status, reporting a power outage be desktop only. So the flexibility of our CMS and our web platform allowed us actually to kind of deploy a responsive experience for one portion of SE.com, and then maintain a desktop-only experience for the Outage Center. And we are on track for December now to make that portion of SE.com fully responsive as well. So it actually is a great benefit of our web platform, that it allows us that flexibility to sort of coexist between legacy desktop and then move over to responsive when we're ready, when we have the design really dialed in and we have confidence that it'll meet customer expectations. I think to that end, the account management features for My Account, that's a big ticket item for us, and we are working really hard right now on our design strategy for that transition as well. For small customer accounts, it's fairly straightforward. We learned a lot from our mobile app product, but for larger commercial and industrial accounts or customers with very complex relationships with the utility, I think that's where we need a lot more design time than we've invested so far. So stay tuned. Maybe next year I'll have another update on how we tackled that problem.
Thanks. There's another one here from Jane, and this kind of dovetails into the conversation about your increase in the digital channel. And she asked, have your email and chat transactions gone up since your call volume's gone down?
So email has not gone up. Chat, on the other hand, is we have sort of an interesting sort of deployment of chat right now, where chat is not available site-wide, so it has not gone up, but I would not say that is due to lack of customer interest in chatting with us related to Move Center. So chat was just deployed, I want to say, in the late 2013 timeframe as part of another initiative where it was kind of bundled up with some rate change requests that were coming out for our CNI customers. And it was sort of a toe in the water type of strategy for chat that we did learn from, but we never moved forward with a site-wide deployment of chat. And so accordingly, transactions on chat have not gone up, but I know our feedback from customers is they definitely want to see us offer chat across the site, and I think we're just trying to fold in the operational realities of staffing chat in our back office operation in a way that continues to emphasize the customer completing the transactions on their own. So the role of chat being more assistive and supportive of self-service versus it being maybe an electronic alternative to a call, if that makes sense. Meaning we don't want chat to become sort of a white glove experience where instead of us having a live call, you just type your request in and then we chat it out with you. I mean, that certainly isn't outside of a benchmarkable experience. It is a lower cost approach than a straight up phone call, but our goal when we relaunch chat is to make sure that it's decidedly a focus on if you need help completing your self-service transaction, our agents will be able to get you back on the, quote, happy path. But the way we've deployed chat historically and the way we staffed for it was not with that kind of intent. So we're retooling that. We're trying to get alignment with our back office operation team to make sure that they're able to support that approach, and that's sort of a work in progress.
Great. We have another question from Raj, and he asked, did you execute the project internally or with an external provider?
Both, actually. So our IT operations, we have a core IT organization and work with external systems integrators. In this case, IBM has been our main technology partner for SC.com for the past few years, but we also have relationships with other IT providers sort of as a shifting landscape in SE, like Emphasis and TCS. So IBM has been the prime on SC.com and led this work implementing the portal and content management system, the transactional systems. But it's a nice cross-section of internal and external resources that handle technology at SCE.
And a question from Randy. He thanks you for the presentation and wants to know what percentage of move orders are done through the website now.
So we're approaching 20% now, which still sounds like a smallish amount, but largely that's been, well, let's say it's been a little bit of sort of self-limited in that there has been a question about our spend to move the mix, meaning how much marketing do we do, how do we dovetail that with other approaches on how we would move the mix, either through sort of making it a little bit harder for those calls to get through to a live agent. So there's sort of this notion of kind of deflection through IVR containment, meaning if we don't make it easy for customers to do these routine transactions in the live call environment, which is where they may organically flow to first, just due to awareness of the availability online, we could potentially avoid marketing acquisition costs, as I showed with the display ads. That's more of a stick than a carrot approach. So we're still trying to figure out, our overall marketing spend for powering the drive to self-service for Move Center. But I think we're making good progress, and even the organic lift we're seeing is pretty significant. We just are really starting to ride the wave now of our investment in responsive. I would say our mobile traffic to our site at this point is nearing that transition point. We're nearing the 50% level this year, and I expect we'll cross over at the end of the year. And just based on that, and based on the majority of the site going responsive, even finding a phone number on the site is going to be easier on a mobile, but certainly the fact that we're going to have front and center, you can do these transactions online and you can discover that organically through your mobile device when you're browsing Etsy.com. I think we're forecasting a significant growth just off of organic.
Great. And from Mark, he asked if you did a full-blown business case or ROI analysis just to see if the investment in this build-out had a positive ROI from reduced O&M cost or some other quantifiable benefits.
Yeah, so our business case model for this is it's a bit of a hybrid in that we're riding off of actually a business case that is out there that we built a few years ago to address software obsolescence. So in this case, what we've done with WebSphere, the WebSphere implementation, is we are actually we built a case around our legacy web platform, and all of the supporting technologies were from circa early 2000s and built off of a essentially obsolete technology that we could not continue to support because it wasn't supported by the manufacturer of those technologies, and or it was all custom code. So what we chose to do was to position the business case around this is that the cost of doing nothing with the technology, one, didn't support our strategic business objectives, but two, created a tremendous amount of technology risk for the company. So the burning platform, to have a pun on that, was that our existing platform was going to eventually be DOA. And so we had to move and reinvest in a new technology platform in order to continue to build this channel out. And as a result of that, and we have this opportunity to introduce certainly new capabilities like the Move Center capability, but also rebuild core payment and billing functionality and usage presentment functionality on top of the implementation of a new technology platform. So in that way, we're able to leverage our capital dollars kind of for two purposes, address obsolescence, also support and sort of maybe subsidize to a certain extent the introduction of new features and functionalities that are part of our strategy. So there are sort of different colors of money behind how we fund these things, but because we had sort of the economies of scale for the re-platforming going on, it lowered the overall cost of the technology implementation. So isolating just the business case from Move Center, and sort of call deflection and transition to low-cost channels, it's not a discrete business case in that sense, but we're hoping that the idea of having this more robust and flexible technology platform will lower the cost of subsequent projects as we now just are starting to reuse the underlying technology. There's a real focus on not reinventing the wheel now that we have a more flexible and modern web platform.
So Grant, I'm still waiting on a few more questions to come in. So I wanted to ask you maybe a couple of things. One, regarding like SoCalEd.com and measuring its effectiveness or KPIs. Do you have like a daily or weekly dashboard where you're tracking, for example, completions through your digital channels or other statistics like that?
Yeah, we do publish it at least monthly. Our desire is to get more frequent than that, although I will say that historically our transactional mix doesn't move that quickly, where monthly reporting interval has been sort of sufficient for us, but we would like to move into a more real-time kind of optimization approach that would require us to have those dashboards available at least weekly. It's a resourcing challenging for us. I would say in terms of all the skill sets we have at SCE, data and data analytics is not something we don't have the bench strength that we'd like to have there yet, but that's a big focus for us in 2016, both what can we do from an automation perspective as well as a talent perspective. How can we do that? We in times of great need, we'll employ our agency partners to help us when we have more critical reporting needs than what we can support in-house, but it's definitely an area that we're looking to do more with in the coming years.
Great. Do have another question that came in from David. He's asking about the content management platform you're using. Is it IBM? If not, can you talk to the integration between the content platform and the commerce platform?
Yeah, it is actually IBM. So part of the WebSphere portal platform, or web, I think it's referred to as digital experience now, is a content management system. Well, we refer to it as IWCM WCM. It's IBM Web Content Manager, and it's pretty tightly integrated with the core of the portal and the other features available through the portal. It's not the only, just to be honest, the only content management system we have here at SCE. We have a sort of a fairly large portfolio of sites, so we have a number of folks who manage content through the IBM tool as well as other content management platforms. And I think our goal in the future is to try and standardize a bit more just from a cost perspective as well as a training perspective.
Great. So we don't have any more questions right now from the audience, so I guess I'll ask you one more.
Sure.
Yeah, in terms of, the importance of, as you prioritize your transactions on SCE.com, that you wanted to move to the digital channels, both from a customer standpoint and from a, taking out costs, so the move in, move out. What was the hardest part of taking that business process and making it an end-to-end digital process?
I think the hardest part was more than anything maybe a mindset shift with our employees around how much work we expect the customer to do versus how much work is really the responsibility of our company to do. And by that I mean the business process for turning service on or transferring service over the years have kind of gotten unwieldy in terms of how many questions we would ask the customer, or how much information was deemed required in order to produce, you know, a successful transaction. And being able to have a conversation or a debate internally where we were able to honestly ask ourselves, were we making this as simple as possible for the customer to get what they needed out of the transaction, versus how do we make it easy for us as a company to process their transaction. For example, there are a number of questions that we can ask customers, such as, can you tell us what the heating source is for the address you're turning service on at? And customers' reactions to that when we tested it more consistently, why is that important? You know, I don't know the answer to that because I don't live there yet. It's not like people, when they buy a house, the first thing most people ask is this electric or is it gas, right? That's not top of mind. You're thinking probably about a lot of other things when you're, you know, selecting your new home. But that was a required question for us. And when we got into it, you know, there's a reason it's a required question. We use it to do things like setting appropriate baseline allocation. But fundamentally, could we avoid asking that question, which we knew was creating sort of a disconnect for our customers and also driving abandonment? Or was there some other way for us to get that answer to that question? I'll tell you there was. At the time, though, we debated it quite a bit, and it was just it's sort of representative of this idea that making it easy is really a process that isn't easy in and of itself. It's not just you toss the problem to your designer and say, make it fewer clicks and you know, just make it look better. You really have to be open to, and we had to be open to, questioning our fundamental business processes and business rules at every turn to be able to have a good outcome. And I think we're getting, as an organization, much more mature about that in every aspect of our business, but in particular for the Move Center and SC.com, that was a big part of it.
Right. And I guess lastly I'll ask, and you touched on this earlier in the slide presentation a little bit, but I kind of see it maybe as a little bit of another cultural change, but you can tell me if it was or not. But when you look at the way that you were designing SoCalEd.com, and perhaps a lot of utilities today were designing things using a waterfall method versus going to more of an agile development process, really incorporating the customer and making, you know, incremental changes, you know, rapidly versus a very large, you know, sort of implementation. How is that shift to an agile sort of approach for rolling out, you know, features on SE.com, you know, I guess accepted, and how has it changed, for example, the way you do things maybe?
It's a work in progress, to be honest. I think that you know, waterfall obviously is not ideal for digital. It's sort of you know, works well for maybe ERP implementations and you know, more legacy type of software development, or you know, versus iterative. But I think in particular, it again, you know, it is a business cultural shift as well. And then I think that sort of pursuing a, you know, the term du jour is minimum viable product, and kind of understanding what that means, which is not that it's something that you can sort of just skate by and, you know, foist upon your customers that's barely functional, versus saying it's a complete and intact product that we were prioritizing, you know, early delivery and then testing and iterating, and then, you know, releasing a subsequent version. That is not something that, you know, utility companies are used to. I think there's a cultural emphasis on getting it right and getting it up to 100% versus sort of getting it to that 80% where, you know, you're serving your target audience versus maybe every single last customer and every single use case. It is definitely a cultural shift in as much it is a software development shift for us. And I think that's another part that we're still, you know, going through some growth on is how do we write our contracts with our software providers and our other support agencies to make sure that we have a delivery model that actually works with Agile. I think that's still something we're working through, and I do feel like we're getting better at it, but it's definitely not something where in and of itself you can sort of say, now we're going to be an Agile shop. It doesn't work that way. It's really something that there's a lot of change management that you have to plan for with that.
Great. Yeah, I would totally agree with you, and those are some of the very same conversations that we've had with other utilities, both the challenge within the IT process as well as the business process when you begin to talk an agile, iterative release of things. So I think we've got about 5 minutes left, and I don't see any more questions in the queue at this time. Is there anything else that you want to add, Grant?
No. But just thank you for the time today. I appreciate everybody who joined the webinar. And if there's any questions that come up afterwards, feel free to reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Great, thank you. And I'll remind folks that it's in your chat window, but Amber's reminding us that there will be a playback link to the webinar recording that'll be up on the CS Week website later today. And at this point, I guess I will turn it back over to Lisa to close.
Well, thank you. Very good presentation, very informational and educational in both, and we appreciate it, and thank you both for joining us today. As I mentioned, there are multiple ways to follow up on your questions if they weren't answered today, or if you think of other questions at some other point. And also, just a quick reminder that we will have Thursday another webinar in the Marketplace series, Building Customer Proximity Through Ubiquity, Business Cases for Interacting with Consumers in Their Preferred Channels, and this will feature Tata Consultancy Services. And at this time, I want to say thank you to Southern California Edison and IBM and all of our attendees for joining us today. Goodbye.